It was early autumn, the season when the leaves turned gold and red, and the crisp air carried the faint smell of pine and damp earth. The ranch was unusually quiet that morning, with only the distant hum of cicadas and the low murmur of the creek to break the silence. I was inspecting the east pasture, checking the fences around my herd of heritage bulls, a breed I had spent years preserving, when the phone rang. "Jackson," my neighbor gasped, "there are hunters on your property, and Karen's the one who let them in." I nearly dropped the clipboard I was holding. Karen, apparently inspired by some misguided notion of community activity, had authorized a small group of hunters to access parts of my ranch. She claimed it was for a controlled wildlife exercise, and that she had permission from the HOA. What she didn't know, and what I was about to make painfully clear, was that these bulls were a protected heritage breed. They were not just livestock. They were part of a conservation program recognized at both the state and federal level. One wrong step, one stray arrow, and the consequences could be catastrophic, not just legally but morally. I raced to the edge of the pasture, Thor at my heels. The hunters had set up blinds and were moving cautiously through the tall grass. Karen, clipboard in hand, was explaining to them, "The HOA has authorized this section. Be mindful." I stomped my boot on the ground, letting Thor bark loudly. The hunters froze, looking around nervously, while Karen squinted at the figure approaching me, in boots, hat tilted low, Thor's massive frame flanking my side. "Karen," I said calmly but firmly, "you just let people hunt on protected heritage land. Do you know what that means?" She blinked, then stammered, "Well, they're licensed, and it's for safety and—" I didn't wait for her to finish. Thor growled low, warning the hunters not to move an inch. "No, wrong. The bulls you see here are part of a registered conservation herd. State law protects them. Federal law protects them. You stepping a foot onto this pasture without explicit written permission from me is trespassing, and attempting harm could result in felony charges." Karen's eyes widened, and she started waving her hands frantically. "It's fine. I'll get them to leave." I cut her off. "Karen, this is my property. The bulls are under legal protection. You authorized a violation. That makes you personally liable. And no, calling the HOA office or 911 won't undo the fact that you've endangered protected livestock." I walked toward the hunters, who had now realized they were in hot water. "Pack up. Slowly. Don't touch a thing. You're leaving my property." They obeyed immediately, sheepishly packing their gear as I stood there, watching Karen flail and protest, still clutching her clipboard like a life preserver. Thor sat by my side, his gaze unwavering, a silent enforcer of justice. By the time they reached the gate, Karen was muttering something about miscommunication and community responsibilities, but the sheriff had already been called and arrived within minutes. Deputy Harris calmly explained the legal consequences. "Ma'am, you authorized access to protected land without permission. That constitutes trespassing and endangerment of protected species. Legal action will follow." Karen went pale. Her protests dissolved into a string of nervous mumblings as the deputies documented the incident. By evening, the ranch was calm again. The bulls grazed peacefully, Thor patrolled the perimeter, and I walked through the pasture, feeling a sense of relief. Karen had been formally warned, removed from all HOA duties involving land access, and placed on notice. Any future attempts to manipulate or exploit private property would lead to immediate legal consequences. Emily, my daughter, ran up, pointing at the herd. "Dad, they're safe." I smiled. "Yes, they are. And thanks to Thor and a little legal muscle, they'll stay that way."